Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video I'm going to be taking a look at the patch 7.25 notes, probably the single most important patch that we've had for Final Fantasy XIV in quite some time. It's the release of the Occult Crescent, the relic weapons for Dawn Trail, and then some other things, the Mammal and the Hildebrand quests, continuation of them. Obviously Occult Crescent is really the main focus of this one, the relics, tangentially as well, as people have been looking for some sort of long-form grind in 14 for, well, better part of 3 years now. And walkers, Manderville weapons didn't really do the trick for a lot of us. There was no exploration zone, and some of the other things kind of fell flat. And Dawn Trail, while it's had some great combat content up until now, has not really had any long-form grinds, unless you're maybe looking at achievements, gatherers, tokens, or the Fate-related stuff. Obviously, Cosmic Exploration came out last month, but not everyone wants to burn out 500,000 points immediately. And apologies, because I'm live streaming on Twitch, and I forgot to get rid of the sound effects before the recording started. But now you know if you come by my stream that chaos is very, very prevalent. I'm leaving that in the YouTube video, but thank you for the reminder, Twitch chat. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get actually into reading the patch 7.25 patch notes. So, first bit of the patch notes is going to be just a bunch of quests, a few screenshots from the special site. Where the quests begin, Tuliolal was the expected place. Pretty much everything in Dawn Trail has began in Tuliolal, except for the moon, which is really more Endwalker-ish content anyway. So these are just the names of all the quests. Phantom Village, Unfamiliar Territory, New Job, Old Tricks, and then question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Phantom Weapons will begin in the Phantom Village in Occult Crescent. Now, mind you, while they'll probably detail this later in the notes, we do know that you don't need to progress the entire weapon inside. Very similar to Bozia, while it is tied to the actual content, there will be options for grinding the Phantom Weapons outside. I expect fates, dungeons, whatever. I don't know if they'll detail that here, but just so you know, that is going to be a thing. And these are our first two steps, Arcane Artistry and Forging the Phantasmal. I haven't looked at any data mines, but I'm assuming the weapons are the same item level as Zilenia Extreme. And then they'll probably be upgraded Tombstone weapons in patch 5.35, which will be 7.35. You can tell I haven't actually had my coffee yet this morning. And then Hildebrand, Solution 9, just continuing where it left off with Mr. Hardboiled. And then Mammal Society quests. They have the same quest sync. They actually do begin in Yaktel. I thought these would also begin in Tuliolal, just because a lot of things have. So that was just my expectation. But all the same, should be a-okay. Now, we did get told ahead of time. There was a JP post, and I knew I wasn't crazy, but I went looking for it to make a video. There was a JP post that said you needed to have the quest 1 Forest complete before starting the Mammal Jaw. But when I went looking for it, I just couldn't find the post because I wasn't thinking to look on the Japanese social media outlets. But yeah, we knew that. I just didn't get a video out on it. That being said, it's basically just completing the Ether Current quests, just continuing those all the way through to their completion after you've actually gotten the Ether Current. That's normally how the quests work for these anyway. And then after that, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Now, if you're watching this live or very early, reminder that if you are up for patch up server uptime, you can actually do 2 sets of dailies on the very first day. It's not really that important because who cares if you're behind a day, but it is what it is. I like to do that little reminder for people. So if as soon as servers are up, you go and get the Mammal Jaw and unlock the quests. Even if you plan on going into Occult Crescent right after, you won't have any issues just, getting the 2 quest sets done. Because once you have the first set quest done, you can complete them whenever and then go do the second quest whenever is most convenient for you. All right, and then this is just explaining how Allied Society stuff normally works. Some new furnishings being added, that's fine. Gold Saucer, new cards, new opponents, new Orchestrion rolls, all normal. Challenge log, Occult Crescent, they did tell us would have a challenge log because it works very similarly to Eureka, where we have knowledge level now instead of elemental level. Expect it to be largely the same, defeating 5, 10, 20, whatever. Number of elementals, fire aspected enemies, skeletons, whatever. Just expect very similar challenge logs to what we had with Eureka. Also, a new hairstyle was added, probably available from Buns or Magic Pot. Chests. I was going to say pots. Magic pot chests inside of Occult Crescent. We know Happy Bunnies are back. It was in the achievements, and we know the magic pots are there as well. New emote has been added, also probably going to be coming from Eureka. I can't say for sure Eureka, but listen, this is going to happen a lot this morning. You can tell I'm living in the past. I was just doing VA yesterday. In Occult Crescent, probably going to be available there as well. Now, we do have some job updates. I'm a little surprised to see this. However, with the feedback to the way that certain jobs were performing, especially in fights like M6S, I'm expecting some AoE buffs. I haven't looked at these yet, so I guess we'll find out. Ninja, yep, AoE potency for Phantom Kamaitachi is no longer there. Hollow Nezuchi got an AoE potency increase. Yeah, this is very clearly an M6S buff. Like, it's technically, you know, a multi-target buff in general, but clearly I'm going to call it the M6S buff for Ninja. I'm expecting maybe a little bit here. Bard's Pitch Perfect, same deal, 5% off the reductions. That's an increase. Shadow Bite being buffed by 200 potency. The Barrage potency being buffed by another 20. So, you know, just 20 across the non-buffed and buffed versions. Blast Arrow being 50% fall off. Resonant Arrow being 50% fall off. Or Radiant Encore being 50%. I mean, not that big a deal. That is technically an M6S buff. But honestly, like, not that big a deal, all things considered. One thing that especially does is makes the Jabberwock grouped up with the Moose much more effective thing. There's several points in that fight where that's quite useful. But, yeah, there's always that. Oh, Machinist. Oh. You know, I'm standing up so I could say I really should sit down for this, but, so Ricochet having its AoE potency improved, technically. Its AoE fall-off has been improved. And Double Check, Checkmate, same deal. These are all AoE buffs because they don't have as much fall-off, which is hilarious. Because that means that auto crossbow is just worse again. It's funny how they could have given them an AoE buff and they were like, you know, auto crossbow, everyone keeps making fun of it. Maybe we should, nah, let's just make Double Check and Checkmate even better again. That's actually really big. In terms of M6S buffs, that's actually massive. So it's just really funny to me they decided to do that. Same deal with Chainsaw, Excavator, Full Metal Field. These are really good changes to Machinist's AoE fall. At this point, I think they just need to accept that maybe Machinist doesn't need an AoE hypercharge option. Like, maybe they just get rid of auto crossbow is Final Fantasy VI flavor. Maybe they just get rid of it. Or maybe they make it so that, oh, how about this? After you finish hypercharge, you get one use of auto crossbow and it's buff as heck. A super, like, instead of it doing the and it's just the little arrows, just shoot a bunch of giant crossbows instead. Do something, right? Clearly you don't want it to be the main GCD even in AoE situations. Do something with it, you know what I mean? Yoshi P, listen, I'll help, just bring me in, I'll help fix Machinist. I'll sit down with the dev, I'll tell them what the problems are. I got this. All right, I will give us a really cool version of it. And then Summoner, same deal, bunch of AoE buffs, no surprise there. These are all M6S buffs, realistically. They should come in handy in here, though, in theory, depending on how much we group up mobs. Occult Crescent, Southern Horn. So, level requirement is 100. You cannot level inside here. It has its own separate leveling system. Curious to see how that pans out in the long term. The average item level to enter is 690 or above. However, mind you that at item level sinks people to 700. It'll probably say that later in the notes. We saw that during the live letter. Anything above item level 700, your materia will not work. So if you are very dead set on making sure you have a specific skill speed or a specific materia, I would recommend spending your nuts on the item level 700 set and melding that. I believe that's the item level of the set. That comes from nuts. If it's not, my bad, but it's not a bad idea to actually do that. Assuming that I am right and it still is that item level 700, which, based on the way Eureka worked, is very, very likely. So, Jeffrey, you players can enter the Occult Crescent by speaking to Jeffrey in the Phantom Village. We're going to be going to the Phantom Village as part of this first quest with the unfamiliar territory. Think of it like Bozia's little side area. It's the same deal, pretty much. Traversing the Occult Crescent, you know, players are free to ride mounts at any time, but they cannot fly. Occult Return takes you back to base camp. Changing classes and jobs. You can change them between that are level 100 note. However, you cannot change classes or jobs during combat or under certain other conditions. Under certain other conditions, because it's not specifically noting that you can't do it out on the field, it's very likely referring to stuff within the Forked Tower. Where once you're committed to a job in the Forked Tower, you probably can't continue, or maybe once you've queued into a boss, you probably can't job change, something along those lines. But for the most part, you'll be able to freely change. Character progress measured by a separate leveling system. Knowledge akin to experience points by completing quests and defeating enemies. Knowledge level. Knowledge level can be increased accumulating sufficient knowledge. Engaging foes with a knowledge level higher than your own will reduce damage dealt, increase damage received, but will garner more knowledge upon victory. So the key idea behind leveling is that you are going to be grouping up with a bunch of other people and killing monsters that are a higher knowledge level than you. If you only want to group up with a few people, go for knowledge level, 1 or 2 knowledge levels above you. If you're grouping up all the way with 8, generally speaking, if it's like Eureka, you're looking at a knowledge level of 4 or 5 higher than you, 5 being ideal. It's very old school leveling-ish, but mind you, we can level sync, and they will probably detail that here. So you can level sync to the lowest level person, and then it'll be as if you're just killing monsters your own level, so you can continue a similar leveling speed. Now, there's also going to be our job EXP, as well as the currencies, but we'll get to that in a second. Incapacitation penalty. If your knowledge level is above 5, falling in battle can incur a penalty if you return to base camp. If you leave the instance while incapacitated or anything like that, as long as you're not res. However, if you are resurrected, then you will not lose experience. So it's only if you actually return to the base camp in any capacity or leave while incapacitated. EXP chains, this is a mechanic that is in the normal game. It's just killing monsters that are equal to or higher than your knowledge level. And yeah, it just gives you a bonus. So you're going to want to be chain pulling mobs back to back to back all the way up to chain 30. And then the bonus will be capped at 30. So that'll give you the most amount of EXP you can get. Knowledge level exceeds your own. So they're changing it here for knowledge level that exceeds your own, but the exact threshold will change. Oh, okay. So they are doing it a little different. So the way that it works in Eureka and the way that it works in the rest of the game is it's equal to or higher than your level. Here, it depends on how many people you have in the party. And as you can see, it says right here what that number is. 7 or 8 levels higher. Okay, so that's actually really good information to have right here. Not information I expected them to give us. During solo play, the threshold is just based on your knowledge level, solo plus 2 levels. While in a balanced party, the threshold is based on the party's average knowledge level. The exact thresholds are as follows. 7 or 8 levels higher. Wow, yeah, that's going to be crazy. It means right at level 1, we can go to the level, 7 to 9 camps pretty reliably. And this is what you need in order to get chain bonuses, and you really want chain bonuses. So that's a lot more people than I expected it to be. A lot more levels for 8 people than I expected it to be. Chain bonuses will not occur when defeating enemies whose knowledge level falls outside of the applicable threshold. Now keep in mind, outside means 9 levels higher doesn't suit you as well. So you really want to be sticking with monsters that are in these level ranges in particular, but don't feel pressured to specifically group up with 7 or 8 people. If you and a couple of friends want to get together, follow these thresholds instead, and it should come in handy. Enemies that can generate an XP chain are indicated with the special icon. Perfect. Phantom jobs are supplemental jobs that can be acquired in addition to your main jobs. As you progress through quests, you will gain access to different phantom jobs. Further phantom jobs can be acquired using items called soul shards. These crystalline objects can be purchased from a vendor on the island or found in coffers in the field and in critical encounters. So, while you can level really quickly by just killing mobs, you will actually need to be doing the bosses and looking around for the magic pots and the chests around the island in order to find the other ones. So they want to make sure you are exploring. It might be called a field op nowadays, but we do call it exploration content for a reason. Phantom job progression. Phantom job progression is governed by your phantom job level, which is increased by accruing phantom EXP. Defeating enemies and completing encounters upon the isle will garner phantom EXP for your current job. Acquiring sufficient phantom EXP will increase the job level, unlocking new actions and traits in the process. Reaching a job's maximum level, you will receive the Phantom Mastery status, which grants increased damage dealt and other helpful effects, and remains active even should you change to another Phantom job. So, whereas Cosmic Exploration gave you the 50% increase to your research, we expected something similar would happen here. Here, what they're doing is a job mastery bonus. Basically, for every job you master, your character is going to get stronger and stronger. So that's going to mean that players that really want to be doing things like Fork Tower or even just want to feel really strong inside the content will see a very noticeable benefit from actually mastering each and every job. More jobs you master, the more powerful your Phantom Mastery effect becomes. The exception to this is the first Phantom job available to you, Freelancer. They don't gain EXP through traditional means. Instead, it levels up with every additional Phantom job you master. Exactly how it worked in Final Fantasy V, so no surprise there, something that I did predict. Phantom actions are special actions available in the Occult Crescent. Different jobs have access to different skills, of course. Phantom Action Panel. Upon acquisition, Phantom Actions are registered to the Phantom Action Panel, from which they can be selected for execution. You can rotate between this And then you can actually change what your main action is. When using the gamepad, right stick plus right thumb click, or R2 plus R3 to execute the currently selected action. If multiple actions are available, press left trigger plus right thumbstick to rotate them. I like how they tell the controller players how to do it, but for the keyboard players, you'll figure it out. And then duty action 1, execute phantom action. Duty action 2 is select phantom action. So this is if you're doing the rebinded stuff for the keybinds. Following settings are accessible via the phantom job window, action rotation clockwise or counterclockwise, reset after execution, and the gamepad input. So there's just more options for you to, set how to do it. Phantom actions can be executed via the hotbar also, just like other actions. Yeah, so you can drag each and every one of them onto the actual hotbar itself. So if you want to set up phantom job specific hotbars, then keep that in mind. Phantom actions 1 through 5 are automatically switched to the representative phantom actions while in the Occult Crescent. Encounters on the Occult Crescent. While exploring the island, players can participate in fates and critical encounters. Neither fates nor critical encounters are affected by your knowledge level. Fates are combat encounters that occur around the island. Players may join fates. I think we all know how fates work at this point. Oh, good. It's O1S. Critical encounters are large-scale battles wherein 72 players band together to take on powerful opponents. Certain critical encounters can only be triggered by defeating monsters on the Isle, exactly as they worked in ages past. To participate, players must go to the location indicated on their map before the battle begins. Yes, you have to go there. One of the biggest problems in the previous exploration contents, well, very specifically Bozia, was everyone hanging out in base and just accepting cues and then hoping they got in. They want you actually leaving the base camp and doing things, so not surprised to see them doing that. Now, the Forked Tower Blood is a very interesting title, because Forked Tower in Final Fantasy V is 2 sets of towers, one of which you're not allowed to use physical attacks, and one of which you are not allowed to use magical attacks. Originally, I suspected that we would probably be dealing with that mechanic, and we still very well might. But to be specifically going to the Blood Tower implies there's another one, which means we may only be dealing with one of those rules at any given time. So, Forked Tower are the greatest challenge to be found on the Occult Crescent, accessible upon reaching knowledge level 20 or greater. You may work together with up to 48 players to overcome powerful foes and tricky battle mechanics. Forked Tower may be unlocked by completing a certain quest available on Occult Crescent. Players must offer sanguine ciphers at the Cipher Reliquary to activate an ethereal node, which will teleport them inside the tower halls. Ciphers can be purchased from a member of the expedition via currency exclusive to the Occult Crescent. The quantity of ciphers in your possession is displayed on the Occult Crescent HUD. Cipher reliquaries will only appear during special weather conditions. When 16 or more players offer the ciphers to the reliquary, an ethereal node will activate. Short time after the node is activated, a maximum of 48 players who offered sanguine ciphers will receive the right of entry, Forked Tower status effect, granting them clearance to enter the Forked Tower. And more than 48 players offered ciphers, those who invested a greater number will have a higher chance of being selected. Note that expended sanguine ciphers will be returned to those who are not selected. Good, you do get the refund if you don't get to go in. While inside, players will have limited resurrections. Stacks of this effect are lost each time a player is revived. Okay, so we don't have no resurrections. You have a limited number of resurrections. And then once a player reaches 0 stacks, they can no longer be resurrected at all. So, in Baldesion Arsenal, if you died, the only way you could be resurrected was Healer LB3, or the Sacrifice action, which had a chance of, which would then kill the other person, and then they would have to hope that they got a res. In, Delubrum, we had the Raise that had a low chance of success, Healer LB3, and then I think Sacrifice still had a 100% chance of success, but I don't think anyone used that. Here, you could be rezzed, but after a certain number of reses, you're staying down. So bear that in mind. That's going to be a very, very different dynamic to what we had before, and it'll make mistakes a great deal more punishing, because you will need to be responsible for your own number of lives when you're progressing through. Abandoning the duty, players who are incapacitated and elect to return to the starting point will be transported back to base camp and not be permitted to re-enter. Occult Crescent currencies, Enlightenment silver pieces, which are gotten from critical encounters and fates, and gold pieces, which are gotten from defeating enemies in the wild. Both of them can be exchanged at the Antiquarian, and you can see that at any time there. Unlike normal instance duties, you may form, disband, or leave a party at any time inside the Occult Crescent. You may also change your status to looking for party, of course. Balanced parties are formed in the Occult Crescent. A party will be considered balanced when all members are within 3 knowledge levels of each other. In balanced parties, your knowledge level is adjusted to the average level of all party members, and enemies defeated award increased Phantom EXP. say you do want to group up for that. Knowledge level sync. The syncing will automatically put you in the balanced party status. So party leader may press the level sync icon at the top to toggle knowledge level sync on or off. Enabling the setting will adjust the knowledge level to all members 3 levels or more higher to those who the knowledge level is lowest, creating a balanced party. Warriors of Light are encouraged to make use of this feature. Gee, I wonder why. Knowledge crystals. These mysterious crystals erected around the Occult Crescent hold a special power, granting players and their party members corresponding effects such as reduced vulnerability against certain types of attacks. So you want to use certain phantom actions against knowledge crystals in order to get temporary buffs, it looks like. It's pretty cool. Treasure coffers. There are treasure coffers all around the map, which can be pointed to you from the magic pots. On top of that, these chests are only visible to you, so be sure to reap the spoils when you encounter one. Defeating monsters on the Occult Crescent and completing certain events, happy bunnies, may cause chests to appear somewhere on the isle. Persistent pots, plentiful treasure. Some fates in the Occult Crescent will task you with defending magic pots from hostile creatures. Those who contribute to the successful completion will discover a persistent pot NPC following them afterwards. Players being followed by a persistent pot will be granted the status Catch Me If You Can. In exchange for sips of elixir, these soulkins will offer hints as to the location of hidden treasure. Follow the hints and use your elixir at the correct location to reveal a concealed coffer. So it's very similar to Happy Bunnies here. And then we have the fortune carrots themselves, which is the Happy Bunnies down here. The hunt for treasure will end when the status expires. You join a critical engagement while being followed. You are incapacitated, or the persistent pot is incapacitated. Fortune carrots. Treasure chests on the Occult Crescent sometimes hold a fortune. So it's like a scaling thing. So you get the treasure coffer, and then you get the fortune carrots. You may start to notice signs of certain creatures nearby. Using a fortune carrot near such signs will draw these creatures out into the open, eager to repay. So you have to... Okay, so it's like a scaling tier of them. Okay, it is different than the way that it worked inside of Eureka, where the magic pots are much closer to being like the original Happy Bunnies. Occult record, quest completed on the Occult Crescent to unlock the occult record, accessible under collection in your duty. Information concerning the Occult Crescent discovered during your expedition is compiled in the occult record. Entries will be added to the record as you progress through the story, discover notes in the course of your expedition, and after you access certain areas of the island, of course. Phantom weapons. I actually really like that shield and sword. Maybe it's because this one reminds me of the katana, but a little different. I like that. Like the shield a lot too. The white mage weapons look, damn that, holy moly, that machinist gun, holy moly. Now if only it was, machinist. Anyway, and then this is just going over the phantom weapon stuff, obtaining them, do the quest. Players will receive one phantom weapon based on the job they progress through the quest. Doing additional ones, after doing that quest, receive additional weapons by speaking with Dora Cooley. Phantom weapon quests employ a system which will require players to proceed with the same class or job with which they accepted the quest. Okay. Employ a system which will require play. I wonder if there's because I thought Yoshi P said during the live letter you could not be on the job you were progressing, but maybe this is meaning that once you commit to one, you have to commit to that. You have to continue to commit to that one until you're done with it. Oh, and then light heavyweight echo. Okay. PvP, again, just not really my focus. So I'm sure there's a few interesting things here. Like you can see Dervish, but I don't know enough about the PvP actions to provide any good insight on all of these. So just, potency buffs. There's some potency buffs, some limit gauge. I can see some buffs. Oh my god, no. Yeah. Monk Meteo Drive, I always recognize, and it's always funny because it seems like it always gets a frequency hit every expansion. Yeah, some damage buff increases on Coiled Fury, Reaper, Bard, Repelling Shot recast down, increased recast on Warden's Pain, and then the effect for Warden's Grace goes up. And also got 25% movement speed on Pain. That's pretty cool. Yeah, and then some potency buffs, effect duration for Machinist Pyoblaster, 12 seconds. It looks like a lot of buffs across the board. There's a few nerfs in here occasionally, but again, I don't know enough about PvP to offer any considerably good insight into those various actions. However, Frontlines is interesting. Damage dealt increased from... I like how they say increased, so it's a buff. That's probably the first time that they've seen them -20 to -10, and then had them use increased instead of changed, which unbreaks people's brains a little bit. And then Gunbreaker, just some of the jobs getting changes to their limit gauge and their damage taken and damage dealt numbers. So Gunbreaker getting a nerf and their damage taken, so they take more damage, but they deal a little more damage now too, and all that stuff. And then Oh, they're trying to short. Okay, so they're shortening matches again. It seems like they're always shortening the length of matches. Whenever they release something new for PvP or make a big change, it seems like they're always eventually trying to reduce the duration of matches. And all of this seems to be reducing the duration of the match just via mechanics. The new armor sets we have here. So these should be our generic armors inside of the zone. I don't know if the glam armors are going to come from Forked Tower, or if we're going to be upgrading these to have bonus knowledge level stats after doing Forked Tower, because we know that there are sets based on the Final Fantasy V characters. But we have a Time Mage set, a Cannoneer set, and a Berserker set right here. And then obviously split across the various jobs. But we've seen those already. We knew those were coming into the game regardless. We do have some name changes. A lot of the Eastern stuff becoming Far Eastern. That's, in fact, that's like almost everything. Like Far Eastern, everything renamed to Far Eastern. We have East and we have Far East. We got to make sure we separate it. Progress required to complete cosmic exploration projects has been reduced. I guess we got our answer on that one. Difficulty's been adjusted for a lot of the rank A missions, specifically the rank A1 missions. I think these were the 9100 difficulty missions for the crafters. If I recall, those ones sucked. They might be a different one, but the 9100 difficulty ones suck. So maybe those are those ones. I don't know. Oh, no. Here we go. Oh, these are 900 difficulty being brought up to 5000, but their quality is being brought down. Okay. Doesn't seem like it'd be that bad. Maybe it's because they're the first part in the multi-part mission, so they wanted to adjust them and make them more in line with the other parts. I'm not sure. During cosmic exploration, on-screen text will now inform players that gathering points are not being displayed when a stellar mission is accepted without an active status of prospect or triangulate. New minor botanist gathering points have been added. That's not surprising because of Mammal Jaw. New items have been added to the gathering points. Mammal Jaw. Changes made to fishing holes in Yaktel, also probably because of Mammal Jaw. New mount being added. That's definitely going to come from either Forked Tower or from one of the treasure chests on the island. The gill turtle, definitely a Final Fantasy V thing. The dove, yeah, this is all looking like, well, except this. These look like Fru umbrellas. You can't convince me that's not Fru umbrellas. Maybe also, probably, very likely, also from Occult Crescent. But I'm calling them Fru umbrellas. They're probably not from Fru. New faceware being added, also probably from Occult Crescent. In order to reduce server congestion, multiple field instances in Tuliolal, Yaktel. And the new area, the Phantom Village, added in 7.25. Number of multiple field instances for Sinus or Dorms been reduced from 5 to 3. Makes sense. Removing instances from Heritage Found. And, of course, the new Phantom Action duties, achievements, titles, portrait accents, adventure plates, commands. That's the twirl emote we saw earlier. Additions have been made to the auto-translate dictionary. Additions have been made to all the autocomplete dictionaries, trophies, achievements, music, sound effects, and resolved issues, which are going to take a little bit too long for me to go through right now. But there were quite a few bugs inside of Cosmic Exploration. I saw people pointing them out all the time, so it looks like this is just a means of going through all of those various bugs. There are some other things in here, some PvP-related stuff that of course, I wouldn't have noticed. Mikote equipped with certain headgear would cause graphics in the ears and the back of the head to display incorrectly. An issue when playing as a Lalafell, end sentence there, wherein graphics were displayed incorrectly using the sit emote under these various conditions. Now, some known issues. This, on the other hand, is important. Phantom Thief, wherein the Phantom Action Vigilance does not apply the status foreseen offense under certain conditions. Unfortunate. Effects of Phantom Actions may not display correctly. Wherein regions normally hidden cure amount is displayed when the following jobs are under the effect of Battle High. And take certain actions. Battle High. In Occult Crescent, huh? Interesting. Dark Knight when conjuring a simulacrum. Machinist when deploying an automaton. Yeah, basically any of the summons coming out. Well, Carbuncle, Fairy, any of that. Issue when engaging the critical encounters, the Black Regiment and Company of Stone on the Occult Crescent, wherein the limit gauge erroneously resets when the boss monster appears. That's messed up. Monster actions will cause the ground to shake even at a distance. An issue when entering the Forked Tower. The following message is not displayed if a player logs out or disconnects, then re-enters this duty. They will be incapacitated upon returning to battle. That's important. So this happened in other content too. If you logged out or were disconnected, you would come back dead. And it seems that that's also the case in Forked Tower. That'll eat one of your resurrection lives, so bear that in mind. An issue in completing certain quests wherein the map icon indicating progress may not display correctly. Tooltip for level requirement displays the knowledge level icon. Changing to Phantom Freelancer on the Occult Crescent wherein the previous Phantom Jobs action panel is visible for a few seconds. Not that big a deal. Turning the action panel before leaving the duty will cause the action panel to appear in the turn state upon re-entering instead of being reset. Issue when playing on the Occult Crescent wherein coffers placed indoors are still dampened by rain. Okay, I didn't know that was an actual problem, but that's funny. An issue where when playing the Mammal Jaw Society quest wherein help text for certain fish is incorrect. Mammal Jaw Society quests where icon indicating incomplete quest requirements appear on the minimap regardless of gathered items, and other minor text issues have been discovered. So, that is going to be it for the patch 7.25 notes. Excited for Occult Crescent today. I'm going to be going, ham pretty much the entire day. I want to get into Forked Tower as quickly as possible this week and, start working towards that first clear, get all my videos out on YouTube. I'm in a new setup, as you can see, and, I'm still getting used to the process, but I've got all my editing software. I've got all my backed up files. I've got everything. So we should be a-okay for the usual this week. But anyway, that's going to be a wrap for the YouTube video. I'm going to get to hanging out with my Twitch stream and just killing time until the servers come back up. So I will see all of you in the Occult Crescent. Until then.